Both have a little bit of spalting in them as well, and they're generally a little softer than the ash. They're a little bit more challenging, especially when spalted, to cut clean. They can still be cut clean, but it must have a sharp tool, correct speed, correct direction of cut. The direction of cut to cut this one would be downhill this way on the spindle blank and uphill on the bowl blank. Establishing grain direction is easy with straight grained wood. However, sometimes when we have defects in the wood, it actually affects how we would cut the wood, and we have to respect it in a different way. For example here, this looks like a perfectly good piece of wood, no problems with the grain direction, like this piece here. If we spin it all the way around, there are no knots, no defects per se. This piece looks okay at first, but when we rotate it, you'll see, there we have it, very large knot. Now, fortunately, that knot is on the outer peripheral of this bowl, which means it's right beside the end grain, and knots are end grain. Therefore, it doesn't affect the way I would cut this piece, because our side grain has not been affected, and because it's right beside the end grain. When I cut up the bowl, I would cut this the same way, and it didn't have any adverse effect. The only thing you've got to watch with things like knots is, one, the piece doesn't break because of it, or the knot isn't loose and flies out while you're working it. Now, here we have one which has a little bit of burl in here, and then has one large knot. Now, this is on the face of the bowl, and the problem with that, that's right here. So cutting this would have to be respected in a different way. It's no longer pure side grain, so slight different technique. Here's a piece that's perfectly clean side grain, platter blank, but when we look at the piece below it, this is quite a challenging piece, because this is a very severe knot coming out at a very unusual angle and has some fairly deep defects in it. So again, this would have to be treated, instead of being a side grain piece, which is the same grain orientation this was, when we've seen what's inside, there's this large knot. So it has to be treated as end grain. So keep that in mind. Once you've set the block of wood on the lathe, you still have to respect for defects, because they can change the way the wood needs to be cut.